One of the biggest headaches for MSPs is getting the right staff. We can't fly without them, and actually, if we get the wrong staff, it will place a huge ceiling on the altitude that you can achieve. Let's talk about finding and keeping the right people. Hey, I'm Paul Green, and don't forget, for help finding new clients for your MSP, we've created an easy-to-follow marketing system. Get that and all the content to go in it at MSPmarketingedge.com. Now, I don't think I've ever met a business owner who would prefer to clone themselves rather than have to rely on staff. I'm kind of not joking, actually, because when you first take on staff, when you're in your first few years in business, you realize that hiring someone for 40 hours a week doesn't actually create 40 extra hours in the business. You're kind of lucky to add an extra 30 hours. And at the same time, your own personal workload goes up as you have to support this new member of staff. How is this the case? Because cloning technology doesn't exist yet, we do have to rely on staff, and the only way to grow a great business that thrives regardless of whether you personally are there or not is to hire great staff. But I keep seeing again and again and again MSPs hiring average staff. In fact, they hire B team, or worse, C team players, but they still expect A team performance from them. Which is nuts, right? But loads of people do it. And I know exactly why this happens. When it's just you and maybe 2 or 3 staff in the business, you are always playing a game of catch-up. So you've got work that needs to be done and not quite enough resources to do it. And the easy answer for this is for you to do more hours, right? I'm sure this is something you either remember or a situation that you're in right now. And the problem is that this puts more and more pressure on your personal time. And at the same time, you're becoming increasingly dissatisfied with your business because maybe you see the standards slipping around you, or maybe your personal income goes down. There's nothing worse than seeing the business seem to be doing a worse job and you getting paid less for that while working more. I mean, this is literally a nightmare, right? And everyone goes through this stage. And when you're in the middle of that, at the point there where suddenly you have the cash to afford a new member of the team for whatever reason, the pressure is on you at that point to get the right person as quickly as you can. And there lies the crux of the problem. Too many MSPs hire really quickly and fire way too slowly, which is the complete opposite of what it should be. But you can understand why it's done that way. I've done it, you've probably done it. If you haven't, then you will at some point. If you have a problem today and you need someone to fix that problem ASAP, you hire the first half-decent person that comes along. We've all done it. And for the first few months, that's great, right? Because the problem with hiring that person quickly for that short-term problem, the problem with that really crops up in the long term. Someone who fixes a short-term problem for you today probably will limit the altitude that you can reach in the future. And I'm afraid that you're not going to like the answer I'm going to suggest to this, because the answer is actually to slow down the hiring and stop hiring people for fixing short-term problems, only hiring people to achieve the long-term goals that you're trying to achieve. And even if there's like 2 of you in the business right now, you still slow it all down and you stop hiring for short-term problems, only for long-term goals. So practically, how do you actually do this? Well, my suggestion is when you have a short-term problem, you use short-term resources to fix that problem. So that might mean hiring in freelancers or consultants, or just taking on people on short-term contracts. Contractors, essentially. I know that there is a real issue getting hold of good people, especially good technicians, but there are lots of good IT people out there. There are some who are working full-time but would like a little bit of extra work in the evenings and the weekends, and maybe some of the work that you've got, some of the problems, the short-term problems that need to be done, maybe they can be dealt with by someone in their spare time. What if someone was to do your proactive checks at 6 in the morning before they go off to work at 8 in the morning? Maybe that's a very doable thing. You know, looking outside of technical work, the admin or marketing work is especially easy to find contractors or part-time people, freelancers to help you. There are literally hundreds of thousands of people out there who would love a little bit of extra work, and you could take on a freelancer, a part-time or a short-term person just to help you with that. The goal with sort of gaining some immediate short-term help that you're not long-term committed to is to take the immediate pressure off you so you can get this short-term problem fixed, the short-term work done, fix all of those problems. But then when you're hiring full-time staff, you can be completely focused on the long-term goals of the business. Which means when you're hiring someone, you can look ahead a few years, you can ask yourself, what kind of business are we going to be in a few years' time? What would we like to be? What kind of clients would we like to serve? What kind of operations would we like to have? What do I, as the owner, want to do with my time in the future? And if I'm doing all of that stuff, what gaps does that leave for someone else to fill in? Now, this is strategic hiring. And once you're past your first 2 to 3 staff, it's the only way you can grow your business. You figure out where you want to go and you hire people for the problems that you think you're going to have in the future and not the problems that you are facing now. Now, as I said earlier, I know this isn't what you want to hear, and I know right now your arms might be folded and you might be thinking, this is really, really difficult, Paul. But here's the thing, I promise you, this is the only way to grow your business with the right staff, the A-team players. Do you want to be surrounding yourself with A-team players who are empowered to go off and do A-team work in the future and free you from all the problems of your business? Yes, of course you do. And the bonus of this is it requires, in the long term, less of your personal time. The business is run better, it keeps its clients happier, and ultimately, it makes a ton more profit.
Paul Green's MSP Marketing Edge.